Welcome, Maurisa Potts, to the Dating Advisory Board. I'm so excited that you're here today. Let me just give you a little bit of background to our listeners. Maurisa is the founder and CEO of SpottedMP, her own boutique marketing, public relations, and event strategy firm, which provides integrated marketing solutions focused on economic and urban development, retail, and nonprofit entities in Washington, D.C. So welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. Happy to be here.
Oh, thanks so much. So let's get right into it. So let's talk about a little bit about your life journey, like how you got here, how you got into the marketing side and public relations.
Absolutely. Well, I am born and raised, I'm a Northern Virginian here, born in Vienna, Virginia, and currently live in Alexandria. And I have always loved the passion for marketing. I went to school in Virginia Tech, go Hokies,
nice. Yeah, there you go.
Majoring in actually not marketing, but I majored in fashion merchandising and design, but we had a lot of communications and marketing background courses that we had to take. So this was moons ago. And through that, my career kind of evolved where when I got out of school, I was working a little bit in the fashion industry. Actually, my first job was working with a modeling agency, helping from a marketing standpoint promote the agency as well as book models. So it was kind of like an interesting weave of that sense. And then my career kind of evolved into the corporate world, and where I was ended up working my way up and working for firms leading their marketing business entity and their group. So I worked for companies such as Arthur Andersen in the .com age, MicroStrategy, worked for several law firms, and just 8 years ago went out on my own.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So dating is a lot like business.
Yes.
Right? There has to be a strategy, so to speak. So I mean,
you would think so.
You would think so. I mean, like, how do we tie it in? So can you, from your perspective, I mean, how would someone even begin that process?
I'm a big believer, whether business and dating, the theme of courting. And I kind of like talk about the theme of courting and focusing on things that give you butterflies. And so in the dating world, you still have to go and develop the relationship and get to know the person that you might be madly in love with or be with for the rest of your life. And there's no difference in business as well in terms of courting and getting to know a potential client or a prospect as well as them getting to know you. It's the power of the relationship and the power of courting. The reason why I see that is that I've seen so many like crash and burn, like instant, either in a business setting or a dating setting, kind of those, fast loves or those fast finds, and then it ends up crashing and burning. Crash and burn instantly. So like the courting process, even though I think people's, patience gets a little thin these days and, day and air, but, I'm a big believer about courting.
Yeah, because think about it. I mean, if every day you have these top 5 clients or 3 clients or maybe even just one big client, you're committed. Mm-hmm. And if things aren't going well, I mean, you're kind of on your own. So you may want to make sure that you're kind of in an alignment in the business side and in the personal side.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, it's just like who you work with, your job, where you work. I mean, you spend more, some days say, what is the statistic? Something about you spend more time at work than with your families at some places. So you better like who you work with and who you date.
Right, and who you date. And so that's why it's like there's no race. It's a kind of, going back to the courting, there's no race. You've got to get to know each other.
Right.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Yeah, and just be able to cut the cord.
Yeah, be able to be, and hey, in the client's world, I've done that too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's like, it's not working out.
Right, exactly.
We gotta go.
Exactly. Now, how do you create you as a brand from a PR strategy?
It's all about style, and everyone has a different style as well as preference of the type of business you want to work with. So I have industry friends that want to, that focus on like luxury brands or hospitality or hotel. They themselves, all of us ourselves decide to figure out what lane or what area we're passionate about. What is the business that gives us butterflies that we want to work with and help grow. And so, for me, it's mostly in the fashion and economic development, anything that's making a change even from a area standpoint, but also I do a lot of work with nonprofits. So, and there's a lot of nonprofits that are trying to either, make a change in a particular, in raising awareness for something or what have you. So in that sense, in creating and defining exactly what you want to do as an individual that is aligned with your expertise in what you're able to do. Because I have over 20 years of just marketing and PR experience that I bring over from the corporate world, and now I help, individual clients. And from that, I've kind of filtered through what I want to do and what I don't want to do, and that's how it helps shape your brand.
Yeah, and then that makes it. I mean, that's a really, really good point. I mean, when you become more passionate and want to help more people, if you have a vested interest, that is something that you actually like to do, right? I mean, think about how many people that will say, "Oh, well, I went with this company, or I'm targeting this company." Well, what is it about them that you actually like? Because you'll probably be more successful if you target the companies and see what kind of industries that you're in that you have some sort of passion for.
Absolutely.
Because you would be more willing to help them in other areas, and it would feel more natural. How many times do you get those sales calls from people? Hi, this is John from XYZ company. I want to talk to you today. I mean, right. I want to say to them, you need to do something else.
Right.
Because if you're
chemistry is not there.
Yeah, and it's especially a little tip. I mean, if you're calling on a client, just say, hey, this is John from XYZ company. I mean, you need to call me back. I mean, people are like, wow, like this guy seems fun. Like I want to know what kind of product or whatever he's selling, or trying to give me information on. I would be probably more willing to call them back than monotone man. Right.
No, absolutely. And I think that goes back to when you're kind of establishing your personal brand is what are your strengths and what are your faults? And I always, I mention faults too, because not everyone's perfect. And I know when I work with my clients, we sit down, and even like new clients, I'm very open. My clients know I'm funny, I'm pretty blunt with them, for their for their good, it's we need to have hard discussions in order to determine why we're doing something.
Right.
And so, we sit down and say, okay, here are our strengths and here are the faults, so it's. And I also see that in dating. Like if you're, going in the courting phase, to be very open and candid and say, here are my strengths, here are my 5 strengths, here are my 5 faults initially out of the gate. So there's no, surprises, down the end. And I see that, a lot.
Yeah. You could say, oh, well, I really like this so much, so I need to change like how I am as a person to mold who they are or what they like. Why?
Yeah.
It's going to come out that you
eventually.
Eventually it's going to come out. They're going to figure out that you may or may not like, wrestling.
Right.
I mean, if they're coming out and they're full like wrestling, Hulk Hogan gear, and it's not Halloween, and you're like, I don't even know who that character is, then it's probably not a good match.
Right. Not a good match. I always say like in the day, like I'm a huge sports person, and I'm sorry, guys that don't like sports, because I'm literally, like a guy, when it comes to it, it's just not going to be a match because I love sports and I'm going to talk about sports and I watch ESPN. So.
Right. Yeah.
Love you, but
I love you, but this may not. Like if
when
they're
you
getting
ask
upset,
me who RG3 or whoever is, that's a big man. Then
I know. I love the feeds with you and A-Bong about LeBron.
I know LeBron. Shout out to LeBron.
That's right. I know. A-Bong's going to be mad about that.
I know. A-Bong knows my special place for LeBron.
That's right. That's right. So let me ask you another question. So, I know some of this. I know a little bit of the stories, but I want to know more about the actual dating stories, because I know you got some good ones that you can share, then how we can translate that into business.
I have 2 to share.
Okay.
One, which we were talking about earlier, about foot fetish.
Oh gosh.
I'm just going to go there.
Okay,
foot fetish.
All right.
I admit, as a female, I have a level of foot fetish, but in terms of maintaining,
right,
whether 365 days a year, winter, summer, spring, fall, kind of foot fetish. So put that aside. However, from a guy standpoint, I was dating a guy on early stages, and we were making out, and he decided that he wanted to go and explore toes early on.
Oh, okay.
Which I thought was early.
It's a little aggressive.
A little aggressive. And so translating it to the business world is that just don't be aggressive on the first date,
Right.
you know, so to speak.
Yeah.
It was a little forward, and it totally turned me off.
Yeah.
And he just assumed that was okay. And I said, that's way too aggressive, you know, style.
Now, I
me.
wonder if he thought because you guys had this, you know, same commonality on the foot issue, he's like, oh, well, she may be ready to go on this.
Yeah, and it just wasn't. It was off. It was just very, very off. So you know, those guys, and I've heard my girlfriends have these crazy stories, but it was pretty aggressive. You don't want to look desperate, or I don't know, like what to, you know.
Just go right for it.
Yeah, just you don't go all in the
Yeah.
first, you know, couple of meet and greets.
Meet and greets, yeah.
so
And
that's
at least it
kind
wasn't in like Starbucks or something, because that would have been awkward.
but it was a little too much.
A little too much.
Speaking of, you know, the second one is just like, I always say, just I hear the horror stories of my friends dating, and it's just like, don't go psycho. I had a guy who just got so upset that I broke up with him that
Well, how long were you dating him?
we were dating 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
So he just got mad and proceeded to take all the belongings that it had, like images of me and things. And one day I was living in an apartment and with my roommate, and she looked outside. She's like, something's smoking on the steps. And he burned all the belongings.
I would have been pissed.
Yes.
I'm like, do
Fire
you know
department came, and
Oh
it
my
was a total
gosh.
scene, which of course, you know, I was hit the roof.
Oh.
But the
Yeah.
only way we figured out was because it was a half burnt pitcher that had, you know, like us in it, that was like charred in the remains. And so, yeah.
Pyrotechnic man.
Yeah, pyrotech. So he got in a lot of trouble for that. But yeah, just don't go crazy.
I mean, I'd be more worried about the frames. I mean, because I'm like, I'm having pictures. I'm having nice frames. I'm like, man,
All my
I gotta go.
clothes and like all, yeah, it
I
had
would
a
have
little-
sent him a bill.
I know. It was just
There you go.
psycho. So I'm like, now you know why I did break up with you. Because
Yeah.
you have, so
Hashtag crazy.
Crazy. Crazy.
So that's a good segue into the next question. What are your thoughts on crisis management?
Oh my God. This is literally, I geek out when there's something going on in the news and media, and how certain entities handle a situation. And a lot of times, unfortunately, especially with corporations, they backpedal with their response. And right now, actually, at Virginia Tech, there's several in the marketing communications in the Pamplin School of Business. They've used several of these like past stories, like the BP oil spill and even, you know, the Penn State incident, as case studies of how to handle crisis management from a public, marketing and public relations standpoint. And it's interesting that a lot of companies don't have the common sense to think about what they do and how people react. And a perfect example is like the BP oil spill, which kind of comes, to mind, because it was just the backlash, of course, of how horrible that whole situation is. But during the time, the CEO or executive was caught on his yacht vacationing, jet setting somewhere in Europe while this was all going down. It's just, you don't do, and so then that got caught, and now they're backpedaling on how do we handle damage control, when it's how do you put measures in place when you have an incident, but also think about what not to do when you have an incident going on.
Right.
And, and a lot of companies do not sit down and just kind of strategize, and plan ahead.
Right.
Or if they know something's happening.
Right. Or just be prepared for something like that.
Right.
Right. I mean, especially now with all the social media, people,
Absolutely.
people putting things on Facebook, Snapchat, whatever. Yes, they're all good tools if you use them the correct way.
Right. And so
Right?
that is why, being proactive, even when, you effed up, and, you need to come out and say, we effed up. However, this is what we're trying to do. Please bear with us, or these are the steps that we're trying to take, versus kind of backpedaling, and
Or just saying, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Because you're gonna get bid on it. You're totally gonna get bid on it. And then the worst is also, when companies announce they've hired a crisis communications team, which is like, why are you, we already know you're in crisis, but you're hiring them halfway through the crisis.
Yeah.
So now that you don't put your team that you've brought on in a good position to try to clean up your dirty work.
Yeah. So just don't say it. Just do it.
Yeah. Just do it.
Yeah. So, and we're still talking about the technology. I mean, how do you think that the game has changed, especially in the dating world and online? Like I just said, we're talking about tools, right? That are to be able to be used. I mean, because I know, all my girlfriends, there's just so many apps out there. Like, how do you manage all of them? I mean, I would think the strategy is just like hone in on two, because there's probably, like I said earlier, there's probably overflow in some other same people on each app thinking different. Oh, we'll get, so give us a strategy
We've
on
now
that.
created a catalog of men and women that we can select from.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised there's not one that comes to which way I want to go. Oh.
I like item number 457, please.
Yeah. It's like a catalog. Like, okay, what do I want for dinner?
I know. Like it's totally evolved, right? I mean, with business, regardless of business and dating apps, my philosophy is like pick two and do them very well. You don't have to be an all pot, and because you will not be successful with them. And pick two and set parameters of how long you're going to
time management.
Yeah, time
right?
management. How long are you going to invest in seeing how well you can use these two applications.
Right.
Because I have clients that are like, oh, I need to be on LinkedIn and Twitter and Snapchat and all this. And then my first thing is like, stop. Why?
Right.
From a business standpoint, where is your audience? They might not be on Snapchat. They might not be on Twitter. They might be Facebook. They might be more Instagram. So let's figure that out first.
Right, because it's all based on age.
Yes, it's all based on age demographic and what you're selling and what's your line of service. So you don't need to be all to everything.
Right.
And with dating as well, pick the two that or something that seems reasonable, because I see my girlfriends are like, they're on like multiple things, and I'm like, how do you keep up with the guys?
All of it.
Yeah. And it's hard too. Because and there's the pleasant side with the app thing, because going to the catalog of men and women, it kind of takes away the human side of courting.
Yeah. Like, read their profile. Don't swipe left or right on the first thing, because you may miss out on somebody great just based, because looks fade. They do. So, if you have someone, and write your profile the way that is you, you're trying to get your personality, like really spend time, because, there's people like, well, I'm going to hurry up and write a profile and get on there and see what happens. Well, if you're not taking the time to actually think about what you're going to say that is relevant to you, what you actually really like, and what you really, really want, it helps weed out. You're always going to get those other random people that it doesn't make any sense. They're like 20 years older, and your parameters are something. It's like, really, dude? No.
It does help weed out and save time, but then on the other side, I see kind of the level of laziness that it's creating in terms of dating and selecting and the time. So it's a gray area,
And being attentive when you are meeting somebody new, or when you go, like, we have a thing, I'm like, do not pick up that phone. If we're having or whatever, we put it, all of our friends will put it in the middle of the table.
Put it in the middle of the table.
Yeah, and just be like, let's have human interaction, because we are, technology driven world, which is great, but don't lose that human aspect of it.
Absolutely.
Right.
And with regards to like just dating, and one of my favorite quotes, and I know I say it all the time, is, brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So when it applies to social media, when you're dating somebody, if you're acting up or you're a crazy person or whatever, it's going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
And your girlfriend's going to talk about you, and your boyfriend, or the guys are going to talk, whatever. And so, the brand is what people say when you're not in the room also applies to business. It's how you carry yourself when you're working with clients. Also from a client standpoint, how are you reacting as well, and what is your reputation? So it's just stuff to think about. Yeah,
and let's read your quote, because I love this quote, because I think it applies to that.
So this is a quote by a guy named Jay Danzy, and it really kind of hits home on the business and dating side. It says, your smile is your logo, your personality is your business card, and how you leave others feeling after having an experience with you becomes your trademark.
Yeah.
That says it.
That says it all.
It says it all.
Yeah. In business and in dating.
Yes, in business and in dating. So, just don't be an ass when you're dating.
Exactly. Don't be a jackwagon. Can't stand it.
Can't stand
the
it.
Hashtag.
I know.
So I want to talk a little bit about some of the nonprofits that mean something personal to you, because I can see, when I see the posts that come through, and you just,
I love your butt.
yeah, exactly. No, but I'm just saying the way you look, and you're so passionate about it, and you can see it. Mm-hmm. Right, like you just light up, and you can just
the butterflies.
Yeah, the butterflies, and you're giving back to a cause that you care about. So let's hear a little bit about that.
Sure. So one of my nonprofits I do work with is the Colon Cancer Alliance. I have been this year actually a client, Chris for Life Colon Cancer Foundation, merged with Colon Cancer Alliance. So I've been working with the entity. We're going 6 years now, and what they do is help and provide awareness and research for colon cancer, and provide programs for patients and caregivers who are going through treatment. And it's something that I'm very passionate about. I actually had an aunt who had a battle with colon cancer a while ago. She passed away, but not from colon cancer. But it's a disease that no one talks about. And what really got me is that, just in general, people are just nervous about talking about what's going on with their body. And it's particularly there. Yeah. And it's the second leading cause of death in men and women combined, and I don't think a whole lot of people know about that. And just as we raise awareness to have mammograms and get your heart checked, it just as important to get your bottom checked as well. And so the work I do for them it's been great. I head up a lot of marketing and communications projects for them. That are very exciting. We just finished one in California in partnership with Sarah Harbaugh and the Harbaugh family. It was a fashion show and luncheon in June that we did out in Palo Alto. And Sarah Harbaugh, who you know is Jim Harbaugh's wife, University of Michigan, but a lot of people don't know that her brother died at 22 of colon cancer. And so with that, the rise actually in colon cancer is on the increase for people under the age of 50. Wow. In men and women combined. So I actually have a good friend out in Denver, sweet guy, he's stage 4 colon cancer, just turned 30. I've lost 2 friends. One was a mother that were in their 30s to it. So yeah, so it is something, when you we talk about butterflies, that I am passionate about, to do whatever I can from a marketing and awareness and helping generate campaigns. One of their prior campaigns was the Love Your Butt campaign, which totally got a lot of rise and served its purpose, and because we named it that. And so we're working on a new campaign for 2017. March is the awareness month for that disease. So we're in the creative process right now.
Now, is that going to be hosted here?
The awareness campaign, or
the event? Is there going to be an event associated? Because I know you had a run last year.
Oh yes, and so in March, yes. So the event I just did for Sarah was in June, out in California. But yes, in March we have the largest Scope It Out race here in DC. So we have about 3,000 runners every year in March. So March 2017, and we'll do that. But and in March we'll do a brand launch, our awareness campaign as well, which will be nationwide. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm excited to see that. I mean, I know how that is about losing friends to cancer and family.
Yeah. We need to be more open about our bodies in general, regardless what is going on. Yeah. And it helps. And honestly, from a family standpoint, it helps, for me to know what my grandparents or what people in our family has, if it could be a generational thing, anything we need to be high alert on. Right. So that's why, people should not be quiet, because you need to think about others that you can help.
Exactly. So when we talk a little bit about more of your passion, and here's more on the fun side of Maurisa that I love, seeing all these pictures. So tell us a little bit about your love for Prince.
Oh boy!
And how that
I'm still in mourning.
that. I know.
It's just not going to go away.
No, I know.
It's not going to go away.
I know. Well, because it's
been a rough year of just deaths. Can we just talk?
Yeah, I know.
Just a rough year.
This is not okay. But you can see the passion, and you can see and how you bring that into your work, right? So talk a little bit about how that can manifest.
The purple one.
Yeah.
The reason why I like Prince so much, and yes, I've liked him since I was 13 and have seen him over 13 times and a little bit of a groupie, is that him as an individual beat to his own drum. He always led. And he's also self-made. Like, he was, and self-taught. And so, like, when I think about that from a business standpoint, and like for me, you know, when I decided to leave the corporate world and, you know, go out on my own to, you know, launch SpottedMP, which will be 8 years now, which is hard to believe. It's that theme of being just self-taught. Like, I was afraid to go out. You know, I'm used to the kind of corporate world where, you know, you get paid first to the 15th, and this is this, and here's that, and to kind of take that leap of faith and be self-taught to run your own business or run a small business and see where it goes, you know, and not being afraid that if it fails, that's fine. You know, you pick yourself up and evolve, as well as also challenge. You know, Prince he had no problem challenging and you know, bumping heads for things that were not right. And so, you know, with the issue he had with Warner Brothers, you know, back in the day, but he was, you know, and that's why you're an icon, because you don't.
Because he led his way.
He led his way.
Yeah.
He did it my way.
He did
his way.
His way. He did it my way.
Not in the end, but, you know,
Yeah.
but just in his career.
Exactly. No,
Sadly.
but exactly. But, you know, you made a very interesting point, though. You talk about leading by fear, right? I mean, a lot of people are scared to go on their own, right, for work. So they may be like, well, I'm already working here. But that may not be what they really, really want to do. But, you know, they're passionate about X, Y, and Z. So they may not go out on their own. So what would you say to tell those people, be like Prince, be self-taught, do it. I mean, worst case, you can always go back to that corporate job.
Exactly. I say just continue, chase the butterflies, chase what ignites you and creates that fire in your belly. And that's what, honestly, it was my son. And also, you know, I was leaving kind of a difficult work environment where I said, you know what, I'm going to try this. And if I suck at it, at least I can, you know, find a job or figure something out. But, you know, being stagnant or, you know, is just not an option. And also when you own a business, you have to learn to always be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And when you're uncomfortable, you're growing and evolving. And so that is, but it's fine to be uncomfortable. Yeah. You can't just be stale. Right. So that's something, you know, when people, you know, go out on their own, it was like, you have to be used to being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's how businesses grow.
Right. Yeah. So we talk. Can you give us one of the best piece of advice that you have heard along the way that kind of changed your mindset?
I would say, I would say never settle. That's kind of like my little mantra, is to never settle and never stay quiet, you know, and it kind of goes back to that uncomfortable, you know, it's every day I'm growing and every day it's uncomfortable, but in a good way.
Right.
Like, I love what I do. I am comfortable and love what I do. Yeah. So I would say that if someone wants to, you know, go out on their own or in their business, to find their butterflies is to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Exactly. Wow. I mean, yeah, because what do they say? Like, you know, being uncomfortable will really get you to the point of greatness. Like, if what they say, there's another quote that says, your best outcome is on the other side of your fear.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So,
and for me, I got to a level of just maintaining and not creating, and that was a personal, you know, problem.
Yeah, because if you're a creative person, you know, and you're in this like stagnant kind of role, and there's no creativity, you're going to go nuts.
Yeah, you're going to go nuts, and that's what happened. And
yeah, and you're like, I'm done. All right, so tell us, as we wrap up here, tell us a few about some of the things that you have upcoming that any kind of fun stuff.
Oh, fun stuff. Let's see. I know. So I'm trying to.
Some of the clients that you're working with on some projects that are.
Yeah, I can tell you, because I got a lot of things that I'm in the works, like development wise, that I'm working on, and so we haven't been able to launch. But yeah, some of my clients I do work for. I love. I do work for the Old Town Boutique District, which is a collection of boutiques, helping to promote destination shopping in Alexandria. Okay. Also on the destination side, Visit Alexandria focuses on all the travel and tourism entities in Alexandria manager, so I do work with them in certain special project capacities. And Lake Ann. I love Lake Ann, which is the birthplace of Reston. And I've been helping them with marketing and PR for 7 years now as that area evolves. And God bless Mr. Simon, who passed away last year at 101 and lived there. He was the founder of Reston. So I help them with a lot of their festivals and marketing strategy as that area is going through a little bit of a change right now. So some fun stuff.
Yeah.
We just finished off a ukulele festival this past weekend.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we always have fun stuff going on
that's
there.
amazing.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, we get some fun. I get some fun projects. And then Colon Cancer Alliance, as I mentioned, we got a lot of stuff going on there right now that's bubbling up, that's still in development.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Maurisa. I had so much fun. And thank you for giving us your knowledge and your stories. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Everyone, take care of the toes.
That's right. Write that down. Thanks again.
No problem.